Oh my God, let's laugh at somebody else because we did that for Aaron O'Toole and we did it for Jeff Zucker. Now we can do it to Whoopi Goldberg. Oh, you got fucking suspended the second, literally. Okay, it was late in the day Tuesday, so on the first fucking day of Black History Month, you said something so stupid and then continued to double down on it over and over and over again and then just wouldn't admit that you were wrong. And then you ended up getting fucking suspended for 2 weeks without pay. Sure, and I'm sure that's also going to stick as well. But I know I seen the view count. You guys really don't care about this topic, but I find it hilarious, and this is my channel, so fuck off. Whoopi Goldberg suspended over Holocaust comments. Oh my God, Whoopi Goldberg, which isn't her real name. It's a Caryn Johnson or something like that. Anyways, obviously, because nobody in their right mind would name their kid Whoopi. And as you can tell, really doesn't quite look like a Goldberg, which is just kind of funny. And she got her name Whoopi from it was a fart joke, right? So gas and a Jew's last name. Weird, huh? And then she's got questions about the Holocaust. Wow, Whoopi based? But yeah, the long-time co-host of The View, I think it's like her and Joy are like the two longest tenured storage closet uteruses that are still milling about that henhouse. Who cares? It's a fucking disaster of a show anyways. It's just incredibly funny right now. Who was widely criticized this week after declaring that the Holocaust was not about race? It's just like, how do you approach that? How do you approach that? And it's just literally written fucking everywhere that Hitler viewed the Jews as, get this one, an inferior race to the Aryan race. I don't know how much more clear it needs to be, but when you see the world simply as white people bad, okay, and everybody who's not visibly darker, everybody who's not against the cause as being an other, it's like, this is your mind on CRT, kids. Not even once. Has been suspended for 2 weeks. Other reports are saying without pay, which, oh my God, somebody who's, I don't know, been famous for literal decades at this point can probably do without the pay for 2 weeks. Maybe. I don't expect that to stick. Effective immediately, I am suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks for her wrong and hurtful comments. ABC. Sorry, they just all seem the same. News President Godwin said in a statement, while Whoopi has apologized. Has she really? Or is she just like, I'm sorry everybody else isn't as correct as I am? What? I've asked her to take time to reflect and learn about the impacts of her comments. Apparently, if you've been listening to what she's been saying, specifically on Stephen Colbert, where she's like, I don't care what everybody else says. I know what I think, and I'm just not going to talk about it anymore. And you guys can feel free to be wrong about it. What? The suspension came a day after Goldberg released a statement apologizing for the hurt she has caused. Not for actually anything that she did, but sorry you feel that way. On today's show, I said the Holocaust is not about race, but about man's inhumanity to man. But those are white men's inhumanity to other white men. Just disregard the gypsies and the Slavs and everybody who is not Aryan. I just, whatever. Okay, you're that far gone, you're that far gone. I should have said it was about both. But then when you double down on it, it's like, it's really tough to take your words at face value. As Jonathan Greenblatt from the Anti-Defamation League shared, the Holocaust was about the Nazis' systematic annihilation of Jewish people, who they deemed to be an inferior race. I stand corrected until you don't. And trust me, you don't stand for much. You sit massively. I'm sorry, corrected. But it's funny, right? Because Whoopi and the rest of those useless fucking flesh husks were talking to the CEO of the ADL, and he was saying all of those fun things, like saying bad things about Jews is bad. And it's like, okay, yeah, we got it, whatever. But was he actually speaking for himself? Or was he speaking for the ADL? Because if he was speaking for them, it looks like Whoopi and the ADL have a lot more in common than they do in opposition. Because what we have right here is right on the ADL's website, adl.com/racism, what their definition of racism is. Okay, so just follow along with me on this one. Racism. Okay, racism occurs when individuals or institutions show more favorable evaluation or treatment of an individual or group based on race or race or ethnicity, which funnily enough, I was watching some other stuff and they were bringing that up. Okay, that previous definition of race and racism, all of a sudden, it dropped off something that I was noting there, okay? Because they were saying specifically racism has to do with whenever white people do something bad. So reading that, a little bit shocked, obviously, because it's like, wow, did they come to their senses? Did I click on something wrong? No, our good friends over at the Washington Examiner now points out something that I was just trying to find an archive of, but since they've got it all figured out here, the ADL updates definition of racism following a Whoopi Goldberg controversy. So that's where we're going to be taking this video going forward. I love to plan content on the fly. The Anti-Defamation League updated its definition of racism Wednesday, and everything that I was watching was like accurate up to like 5 hours prior to this, so this was weird. Updated its definition of racism Wednesday after its CEO and National Director Jonathan Greenblatt appeared on The View the day before to speak to Whoopi Goldberg. Racism is now defined by the ADL as, and again for posterity's sake, as something that occurs when individuals or institutions show more favorable evaluation or treatment of an individual or group based on race or ethnicity. Again, nothing wrong with that definition. In fact, a true definition. But something else that was there as well that you guys seen, obviously, was the whole interim definition. That's weird. Why would all of a sudden there be an interim definition of something that has, I don't know, been defined for years, decades, generations at this point? Well, this is only an interim definition as a subject. Oh, and is subject to change, according to the ADL, whose mission is to stop all defamation of Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all. Again, those are conflicting statements. You're saying that you're all about the Jews, but you want everybody to be treated fairly, but this is the ADL, and there it's a fucking clown show. Anyways, several years ago, and as recently as earlier today, the ADL changed its definition of racism to the following. This is what it used to be. You can check the archives that are out there. This just provides a more comprehensive, complete, a little bit better presentation. The marginalization and or oppression of people of color based on the socially constructed racial hierarchy that privileges white people. That's what it used to be. That's what it was probably a few hours ago. Why the change all of a sudden? Why the change of heart, ADL? Again, I just always find these definitions funny. This isn't specific to the ADL or anything, but if you take a look at the world at large, okay, so marginalized groups, okay, oppressed groups, by their whole idea of power dynamics, if you have more of one thing, that therefore lauds power over the other, and that's the entire idea behind white people. But again, just trying to figure out all of the fucking nonsense when it comes to intersectionality and critical theory, critical race theory, and all that garbage, just fall down a rabbit hole of absolute nonsensory. But if you take a look at the global population, and guess what, racism happens everywhere around the world. It's not specific only to the Western world, where there's more white people in most of the countries that are out there, okay? Unless of course you want to start dissecting people's actual origins, and then it just gets very, very difficult to what exactly is a white person. And again, these are conversations I don't care that much about. I think that they're all just fucking retarded and they just distract from the real issues at hand. But okay, now if we're just going by sheer skin color, and depending on the time of year it is, especially because it's cold and dry here, I guess I'm a little bit redder and flakier, so I guess a quarter of me is really popping out as being a redskin. But what's the average human being in the entire world? A 34-year-old Chinese man. If you take a look at the world at large, like white people as a group, okay, or I don't know what they would consider it as, but just white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, okay, they're like what? In the top 5, but they're well behind a lot of the large Asian populations, okay? Asians, which would encompass, what, Koreans, Vietnamese, Japanese, Chinese, dirty knees, look at these, and then Middle Easterners, and then Africans. It's like there's a lot of people that are out there, and then you got I don't know how you want to split up brown people. It depends on what political persuasion you are. You might consider Cubans, who are relatively indistinguishable from Puerto Ricans or Mexicans or Guatemalans. Okay, they might not be brown, but maybe they are, depending on, see how fucking funky this shit gets. So again, I like the reversion to the actual definition of racism, mostly because it makes sense when you just take a look at things through, I don't know, a realistic proper lens, instead of just your myopic, this works for me and my ideology purview. But that's just me. The ADL updated our definition to reflect that racism in the United States. Oh, just the United States. But I thought you guys were concerned about the treatment of Jewish people who are from the United States. You're going to have to refresh me on that one. You guys seem to be the expert on the topic, right? And people, and all people, right? But now you're just concerned about racism in the United States and how it manifests. Gotcha. In a broader and systemic ways. Can you define any of this stuff, or redefine it, or redefine it? And to explicitly acknowledge the targeting of people of color among many others, but just people of color, because all you can see is literal skin color. That's why you want to do away with people who don't judge people by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, because you think that, oh, colorblindness is stupid. It's like, yeah, I know black people, but I'm friends with black people. I know brown people, I'm friends with brown people. I know white people, I'm friends with white people. I don't judge people on that, but that's what these people do. And that's why they want to get rid of that entire idea that you judge individuals. Because if you have so many individuals, you don't have a collective. And that's ultimately what they all want. And that's ultimately where all of this nonsense comes from. But we're focused specifically on, I don't even know at this point, The View, Whoopi, ADL, the ever-evolving term of racism. It's strange, and all of this is off the back of just a one book that was banned in a very, very, very small district, 55,000 people, County? Yeah. Oh, McMinn County, sorry. A lot of M's going on here, but McMinn County, Tennessee, which is in between absolute and nowhere. In Tennessee, okay? It's between Nashville and like Chattanooga. It's the fucking nowhere. And they got rid of this book for reasons I can't even quite figure out exactly, but this is what sparked that conversation on The View Monday or something like that. I don't really know at this point. It's just, all of this is just kind of melting together like a big old melting pot, as it were. In early January, a 10-member school board in McMinn County, Tennessee, voted unanimously to ban Mouse, a graphic novel about the Holocaust from its 8th grade curriculum. Okay, what's so wrong with it? The move followed a debate over the book's content, its age appropriateness, and the best way to teach children about Nazi persecution of European Jews during World War II, reports Mel Frosnick of the Tennessean. Now, widespread outcry sparked by the ban has led to increased demand for the book. Cool. Public interest spiked last week, according to Google Trends, ushering in a new wave of sales that have pushed Mouse to the top of the Amazon history and graphic novels category. I haven't been able to take a look at anything that's in there, but what's depicted in there, okay, to the recounting that I've heard, so I guess this is third-hand information. So take it with a grain of salt, obviously, but it depicts cats as Nazis and mice as Jews, and they're depicted as being hung or gassed, and it's like, what I can analogize it to is like Animal Farm and its depiction, one of Orwell's classic, obviously, everybody's heard about Animal Farm. Its depiction of communism and how some animals are more fair than others, but it's a way to deliver that message through anthropomorphization, similar to what apparently Art Spiegelman is doing here about telling the story of his family through the ongoing struggle, cats and mice. But I don't know if it's like excessively graphic, but again, it's judging a book by its cover, which is always a dangerous proposition. Ugh. Maybe the imagery is a little bit excessive for 8th graders? I don't really know. Probably not, but maybe this is just a bunch of busybodies who are out there who could possibly be. They still do exist out there. American cartoonist Art Spiegelman published the first and second installments of Mouse in 1986 and 1991. So it couldn't be that graphic, really, considering the period it came out in. Chapters first appeared in serial form in the comic anthology Raw in 1980, so they've been around for a minute. In the nonfiction work, Spielman blends art, autobiography, and history to relate the wartime experiences of Polish Jew parents who survived imprisonment in Auschwitz and Birkenau, concentration and extermination camps. The book's present-day narrative follows Spielman's fractious relationship with his father, Vladvik, and ongoing reckoning with the loss of his mother, Anya, who died of suicide in 1968. Vladek, who shares his story with his son in the years leading up to his death in 1982, narrates a section that takes place in the past. Yeah, it's probably a pretty disturbing tale, all things considered, because, you know, concentration camps during the World War II and all. But again, this was one county, one remote county in the middle of nowhere, only for 8th graders, okay? They were just taking it out of the curriculum. It's not even said if they like took it out of the schools or not. Maybe they just moved on to something that's tells the same story, just maybe not in such graphic detail. I don't really know. Neither does Whoopi, but she has been suspended, by the way. Now we're just going to bookend this because this video's gone off on many different areas, but I'm glad we talked about all of them. But Whoopi Goldberg is livid because a white woman is holding her down. How white is she, though? Anyways, questions I'm sure that she's going to be mulling over the next 2 weeks, threatening to quit The View over her suspension. And the rest of her colleagues are also, because you can see by the little caption here, and we'll get into that as this brief article surmises as well. Whoopi Goldberg's co-hosts on The View are furious at ABC for suspending the embattled personality over claims that the Holocaust was not about race. She was patently wrong, continued to be wrong, and she got punished for it. Isn't that the entire mantra of you have freedom of speech but not freedom from consequences? You know how fucking stupid that is in practice? Imagine that. How about you stop that nonsense? We can all just get back to life as it were prior to this. Whoopi Goldberg is livid after she was suspended from The View over claims that the Holocaust was not about race, and telling co-workers that she's going to quit the show according to a source. Oh my god, and then she's going to start up the Horizon with whoever's in her orbit. Friend group. Goldberg, Oive, 66, feels humiliated after being disciplined by ABC executives. No, probably for just being wrong and then doubling down on being wrong over and over again by ABC executives after she followed their advice to apologize for the ill-conceived comments. Haha, never apologize. Aha, stupid. A well-placed insider told the Post. She feels ABC executives mishandled this. Likewise, stupid. The feeling's mutual. That's why you get 2 weeks to think about it. She followed their playbook. She went on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and apologized again on The View the next day. Yeah, she definitely went on The Late Show. Well, that's for true. Can't play any of those because then the video will get copyright because everything is so great on YouTube. Source added that while Goldberg is taking the suspension hard and says that she wants to leave the show, insiders believe that she's likely just sounding off. You're telling me Whoopi might be emotional? Oh my god, I can hardly believe it. Her ego has been hurt and she's telling people that she's going to quit. Suspension from The View is like getting suspended from Bravo. The bar is very low. Yeah, you could just continue to get suspended over and over and over again. They're not really going to follow up on it. But what about what are her co-workers saying? Well, according to Anna Navarro, who's probably the only person who's thankful that Whoopi's been suspended, because that's her, by the way, right over here, that one. She's just happy that Whoopi's gone so that she gets her share at catering. I love Whoopi. I love The View, she told the Daily Beast on Tuesday evening after ABC announced that they suspended the only black woman on their show at the beginning of February. Tough to do. This was an incredibly unfortunate incident. Whoopi is a lifelong ally of the Jewish community. Oh, interesting. If she's a lifelong ally of the Jewish community and she believes that white people are allies of the Jewish community, okay, therefore, does that make her a white supremacist? Interesting what happens when you start to intermingle all of these definitions. And until the ADL updated their definition on racism, that was kind of their opinion, because apparently nothing racist happened in World War II because it was just a bunch of white people intermingling and taking showers together. She is not an anti-Semite. No, she's a white supremacist. Period. I am sad and I have nothing else to say. Mostly because your dinner order just got there. We'll see what happens. Probably not going to do another video on this unless it gets more and more hilarious. Because mainstream media, man, they just keep fucking up over and over and over again, regardless of the country. Because you got CBC in the first video, you got CNN in the second, and now you got ABC, The View, talk shows. Just mainstream media in general is fucking trash. And now that it's setting itself on fire, wow, everything really is coming along just perfectly on schedule. You got rid of Orange Man. Now you have nothing to talk about. Now let the infighting commence. Ding ding. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. Watch your fire your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.